Well, so that's what we have this week for this week's guitar lesson. We're going to learn a bossa nova style rhythm with some fill licks in between. So I've got this video split into two parts. In this video we're going to take a look at the first half and we're going to learn the rhythm part. If you'd like to watch the second half, which will have the fill licks and the little bridge part in there as well, you can go to activemelody.com and look for EP137. That's the lesson number for this lesson. You'll also be able to download the tablature for this. So let's go ahead and get started with part one. Alright, so to explain the bossa nova style, it's really, if we were to just make it very simple, most music that you're probably comfortable playing, it would be like rock or just 4/4 rhythm, and so the beat would come down typically on the 1. It would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3. That's what you'd just sort of naturally probably go to. Unless you live in Brazil and maybe you're a little more influenced in bossa nova style, and that style is where the rhythm comes down and the beat drops down on the 3. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4. It's a little different twist than what we're used to, but that's what gives it that pocket or that groove, and makes it so enjoyable because it's still predictable. It's still something you can move to. Let's break it down. So there's 4 chords, and I'm going to show you the fingerings of all the chords as we get to them. We'll start with the D major 7 chord. That's the first chord. Let me show you how to make it, and then I'll get into the rhythm pattern. That's how we're going to spend most of our time working out the rhythm, what the bass part does. One other thing to point out that you're going to love, some of you will love, that are some of you that struggle with right hand strumming, is there's really no upstrokes. This is all pretty much downstrokes. If you watch my right hand, it's all just a series of downstrokes. So that simplifies it a little bit. It takes one of the variables out of the equation. So, alright, so the D major 7th chord, we're going to bar all 6 strings here on the 5th fret, and then we're going to take our pinky and put it down the 7th fret 2nd string, and then our ring finger goes down on the 7th fret 4th string. Then the middle finger goes down on the 6th fret 3rd string, and we place the 5 strings, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. That's a D major 7th chord, kind of a jazzy chord, really nice, mellow chord. Now, here's an easy way to remember that chord shape so you can go back to it easily. Look at these 3 fingers. If you take the bar out of the equation, you see that these are the same chord shape as a D 7th chord. That's just how I think of it. It makes it easier to grab that chord. So that's so when you think of it that way, I think that simplifies it. Okay, so that's the D major 7th chord. Now let's talk through the bass part. We're going to start with the bass part. And here's what it's going to sound like on its own without the other strums. It'll sound like this. And that's where we're going to start. So notice again, all downstrokes. And what I'm doing is I'm playing string 5, 6, 5, 6 out of that chord. So there's that same D major 7th chord shape. And you can just keep your fingers down with the left hand. You don't have to even think of your left hand anymore. Now it's going to be all about the right hand. Alright, so here's how you're going to want to count this. So typically when we count, a lot of times it's either 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe if we're counting eighth notes, we go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And well, this, to make it, since there's so many rhythms that come in on different parts, we're going to count in 16th notes. And so the way you count that is you say 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and so I just counted out 16 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, so forth. So here's how to count this. If we just focus on the bass notes, so they're going to come in on the uhs. So it'd be 1E and 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and 1E and 2. You can see how every time I'm saying that's where your bass note is falling in. Now the only exception would be starting on the 1, because you have to start it right at the beginning. So it'd be 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and. So that's the first thing you're going to want to learn. Now, there's one other little twist that I put in, and that would be to go 1E and 2E and just on that second one. So just on that one, we're going to hit that one twice. So you got 1E and 2E and 3E Okay, so practice that. If you're struggling at this point, don't move on. Just pause the video or whatever you got to do. Set a metronome or whatever can help you with the timing, and just try and get your head around coming in on the uhs. And that one exception being the second time we're going to say two, or we're going to say the two, the and the two. 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. Okay, so that's the bass part. Now, the rhythm that happens kind of in between the bass lines. So the way that you think of it is the bass defines it, then you play a rhythm, you go back to the bass, back to the rhythm, bass, rhythm, or back and forth. So we're going to now play the rhythm on the and. So at least the first rhythm is going to be on the and. So we're going to say 1 E and, 1 E and, here's a, 2. So we have 1 E and a, 2 E and. So now notice when we played it on the 2, when we got to the second one, I played it on the E. So the first one starts on the and. The second rhythm, when I say rhythm, I'm talking about strumming strings 5, 4, 3, and 2. If you only strum strings 4, 3, and 2, that's okay too. And if you haven't hit the 1 string, that's okay as well. So it's the first one is on the and, the second one's on the E. The third one will also be on the and. Let me demonstrate. 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and. And when we get to the 4, I'm going to play on the 4 and. So it's going to go 4 and then we're right back to the 1. So putting that all together slowly, we have 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 and. 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 and. Sounds kind of crazy, but that's the best way I can think of to articulate where to play the bass notes and where to play the rhythm notes. And so hopefully you can go back and review the video as many times as you want until you can get that rhythm down. And if you need to pause it and make notes, this is where I come in on the E or the and or whatever, that'll help. Now, those of you that are premium members will have access to the tab, and the tab has everything out in each measure, so that'll definitely help. And I've also got the on-screen tab viewer as well, so that'd be something you could slow down and you could really get loop sections and all that stuff. All right, so that's the D major 7th. Now we're going to move, we're going to keep that same rhythm going. The rhythm never breaks, but we're going to slide up and we're going to play an E minor 7th. So here's how to think of an E minor 7th. Think of an E minor chord shape, and then remove your pinky. That's what gives you the E minor 7th. And all you're doing is you're barring all 6 strings here on the 7th fret. Your middle finger goes down on the 8th fret 2nd string, and your ring finger goes down on the 9th fret 4th string. And you're playing strings 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So that's an E minor 7th. Now, we're going to follow that exact same strum pattern that we did with a D major 7th, and we're going to play the bass notes again on string 5 and 6. So that makes it easy. Your right hand is doing exactly the same thing. The only thing that changed was your left hand moved to a different chord. So backing up from the D major 7th. Okay, now we're going to move to another chord. This is going to be an A13th. You can see that I'm using some different chords than maybe you're used to, and that's just a part of that Bossa Nova thing is a real jazz feel, so we're using some jazzier chords than maybe you're used to. And that's what's nice about this rhythm. You can apply it to any kind of jazz chord, and you get this real cool groove going. It's real easy to kind of create your own songs out of that once you get the rhythm down. Okay, here's how we're going to make the A13. Make an A major bar chord, just like this, but instead we're going to take our pinky off and we're going to reposition it to play the 7th fret 2nd string. That's how you make it. So the bar is the 5th fret, all 6 strings. Your pinky is on the 7th fret 2nd string. Your middle finger is on the 6th fret 3rd string. And then your ring finger is on the 7th fret 5th string. And that's an A13. Now, this time we're going to, the only difference is going to be instead of when we play the bass note, it's still the same rhythm. We're just going to start on the 6th string. We're going to go here, and then we're going to go to the 5th string. So it's kind of reversed. So it's 6, 5, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 5, 6. You know, remember the first time we were going 5, 6, 6, 5, 6, 6. So that's the only difference. Everything else stays the same. And we're going to put the strums in exactly the same spot. So let's try the A13. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 and. Okay, and then the last chord is another D major 7th chord. We're just going to play it in a different position. I wanted to put it in a different voicing. Now, if you struggle with this next chord, you could always go back to the first chord. The first one that you learned, it's going to be the same chord. The way that I'm making it, though, was I'm barring the first 3 strings on the 2nd fret. My ring finger goes down on the 4th fret, 4th string. And then my pinky goes down on the 5th fret, 5th string. And that's what that chord sounds like. A little bit of a stretch for some of you maybe, but just practice it, and you can see where my thumb is back here behind the neck. It's really pushing there, so what I'm doing is I'm squeezing to get the leverage. If you're ever having a hard time making a chord, if you got a string buzzing or something, always play around with your thumb and play with this pivot with your wrist until you can get the right angle. That's usually what causes that. So that's how we're going to play the D major 7th at this point. Now it's going to be the exact same strum. The only difference this time is my pinky is going to cover the 6th string, or sorry, the 5th string and the 6th string, just like it did here. You can see that the pinky has to move this time. And then that resets us to go back and loop through it. So there's really 3 chords in that part. There is in the bridge, which we'll cover in the 2nd video. There's another chord that I threw in, but really that's the bulk of it. It's the D major 7, the E minor 7, the A13, and then this voicing of the D major 7 to give you just a little bit different flair. Let me back up now that we've got all the chords and we've covered how to play the rhythm. I'm going to go through it and play it by myself, and I'll do it slowly so that you have this as a reference. So here we go. Messed up that chord a little bit, but you get the point. So that's the Bossa Nova rhythm, and there's different variations on it. There's all kinds of different ways. If you look around, you'll see that or you listen to Bossa Nova, you'll hear different ways of playing that progression, but it's usually some variation of that. Here, as a little bonus though, for those of you that are fingerstyle players, you may want to try playing it this way. You can see there's a few differences. My thumb this time is not, or the bass notes aren't going. They're not coming in the same places. It's close. But a little bit of a different twist. So that gives you something else to kind of play around with. But anyway, that's a Bossa Nova rhythm. I hope that you've enjoyed this. Make sure you watch the part 2 video where we'll go into the little lead fill licks that allow you to play some lead in between those chords, and then we'll also throw in a bridge part 2 just to make it interesting. Okay, that's what we have in this video. We'll see you in part 2.